The first one is, why even declare bankruptcy if I don't have any assets? Now, that's a fantastic question. And you got to remember, if you don't have anything for the creditors to take, what are you worried about? I kind of agree with that line of thought up to a point. And here's why. Let's say, for example, you're renting an apartment, you got a leased car, you don't really own a lot of stuff, and if a creditor sues you or a credit card company sues you, what are they really going to get? Well, you got to remember there's other remedies for the creditors if they don't want to pursue you for your stuff. Let's just put this in perspective. Let's say I get sued by a credit card company and they get a judgment against me for $10,000. Well, first thing I'm going to look at is, what can they take from me? Can they attach my wages? Well, not if I'm head of household. Under Florida law, they can't garnish wages of head of household. Okay, so I'm good there. My wages are protected. What about money in a bank account? Well, they may be able to get some of that if I've got my own bank account. If I have a joint bank account with my wife and the creditor only has a judgment against me, they can't really touch my bank account. Well, what about cars? Well, it depends. Do I own my car free and clear? Yeah, well, they might be able to come after that. But if I have a lien on the car, they may not be able to touch that. What about just sitting on the judgment? Or what about harassment afterwards? Yeah, they can do that. They're going to want to investigate what you have. So what happens is, the first thing a creditor is going to do is they're going to send you what's called a questionnaire. And under the Florida Rules of Civil Procedure, you'll have 45 days to fill out this questionnaire and turn it back in. Some people turn it back in, some don't. I always say turn it back in, but provide them enough information to answer the question, but don't give any specific information, like, for example, your Social Security number or the numbers on your bank accounts, unless the judge requires you to do that. You got to remember, these documents may find their way into the public record, and you are, even though you've got a judgment against you, you are still entitled to your privacy. So if these documents find their way into public records or on the internet some way by some mystical event, then at least you're protected. You definitely don't want to give out your children's names, because that's not required under any law that I've ever seen, that you have to disclose the name or age of your children or their Social Security numbers or whether they have bank accounts. If the judge requires you to give this information, I'd be shocked. But at the same point in time, you know, that's the problem that you're going to face. So even if you say, hey, I don't have anything, they can't take it, the creditor can still make your life a living hell by making you go to a deposition in aid of execution. They can ask the judge to bring you in so that you can answer questions under oath. Do you have any other bank accounts? Are you hiding any money? Do you have a safe deposit box? What's in the safe deposit box? Do you see what I mean? By doing that, yeah, they're not collecting any money out of you, but they are wasting your time, and they're basically harassing you in a way that particularly I don't think is appropriate. So while at one side of me says, yeah, if you don't have anything to take, don't worry about it. The other side of me says, if you don't have anything to take, do you really want to be hassled by this? And where this comes up a lot is people with older people. Let's say you're in your 70s and you're on Social Security, so they can't touch your Social Security. They can't touch your bank account because it's all Social Security money in it. You don't own a car anymore, and really, do you really want to worry about this judgment if you're never going to buy a house or anything? I agree. But at the same point in time, do you really want to be hassled? I've seen situations where elderly people were being hassled by a debt collector. Quite frankly, I thought it was one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen. So, from that perspective, there's two things. You don't have to file bankruptcy. Nobody ever has to file bankruptcy unless there's some urgent matter, which we're not talking about here. But if you want to get a fresh start, and if you want to put this matter behind us and not have to worry about these things going forward, bankruptcy is definitely an alternative for you. So hopefully that answers that question. I really appreciate it. It was an anonymous person, but whoever sent it in, it was a really good question. I really want to say thank you for it if you're watching the show.